Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business. I am looking forward to talking to David Hack, president of Ark Refining. David, good to see you. I think my internet's a little off. My voice is like off to the whatever, but good to see you. I'm looking forward to diving in. Ark Refining, you are a Michigan dental scrap refining company where you offer cash on the spot for dentists. And let's rewind a little bit, right? Because here we are, April 23rd. A year ago, we were in lockdown and people were not going to the dentist. And so how did you, as an entrepreneur and as a business person, how did you, just kind of look at your business and determine, your plan of how you were going to, move forward at that point?
Well, it was definitely difficult because when all the dental offices were closed, of course, I obviously wasn't working at the time. But what I did is I had small little Zoom meetings that I had with various dentists, which gave me an opportunity to kind of stay in touch, see how they're doing, and just kind of was hoping that sooner than later we were going to be able to get back to work.
Yeah.
But
I love what you're talking about there, because you're diving into the idea of educating, keeping people connected to you. So as you were talking to all of these dentists, what were they thinking, and how as a business owner were you easing their stress? What were you doing from a leadership perspective?
I was just basically telling them that, how important their services are, and that, at the time, I think, medical offices were open, and, obviously if you go for your 6-month checkup, let's say, there's less chance of having, further problems such as needing a perio or endo. So that general dentistry cleaning every 6 months is very important, obviously. And they were nervous too, what's going to happen when they go back? What's the confidence level going to be of patients? Are they going to feel comfortable coming back, with COVID and everything? But, I just wanted to let them know that I thought what they do is obviously extremely important, and, hopefully be up and running very shortly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many, as a business coach, I'm always talking to people, and a lot of them are asking me, in this, for example, in times of crisis, how do I sell and what do I do? And really the answer is sometimes, and many times, especially in this case, I agree with what you did. You just got to call and check in and see how they're doing. And, because they're kind of walking through and talking through all of this, everything as well at the same time, trying to figure it out. Let's talk about, you, the entrepreneur. To me, building your own business, you as an owner of a business, getting to where you are is never a straight line, right? So you have all of these kids who are graduating college now, starting college. They say that within the next 10 years, by 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist don't exist today. And so there's really no straight line to success, to business, et cetera. So kind of give us a Reader's Digest version on how, David, you kind of got to owning your own business, Ark Refining.
Well, actually, I was kind of going through a lot of different businesses. I had a background in sports management, and then I had several jobs in mortgages. And a good friend of mine from undergrad was a rep for this company. He was the rep out of Minnesota. He's always looking out for me because I was sort of going I guess we'll call it job hopping, so to speak. And he asked them if they consider opening up a Detroit market of the company at the time was called Ark Refining. And in any event, I flew out to the LaGuardia airport, met with the owners, and they hired me. And basically my job was to kind of build up from scratch a Michigan territory. So really it was a lot of just knocking on doors, introducing myself to as many dentists as possible, and just telling them what we did and what I do. And that's pretty much how I started.
Yeah. Doing a lot of the fundamentals and really getting out there. I love everything you're talking about. And so in today's market, right? So as in today's market, how are you, dentists are back, right? I've been to my dentist many times in the last year, Dr. Owens. My dad was a dentist and Dr. Owens was his associate. And, so how are, and to me, it feels very safe. And, it's going to the dentist is a great experience. And so now but going to the dentist is different today, right? People call from their car. They're not, they're kind of brought in. They're in one door, out the other door. There's just like a different sense of the fluidness of coming in and out of offices. And so for you, as somebody who makes a business out of kind of walking in and out of offices, how have you had to change your business a little bit based on COVID and safety and things of that nature?
Good question. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, for one, I used to just walk in and, introduce myself. And now, obviously, I have to stop at the door, just like if I was a patient. I got to go to my car and basically just say, who I am. And if there's an opportunity to, drop off some literature. And most are pretty good about that. They'll meet me at the front door and I'll drop off the literature. Obviously, in the past, I was able to go right into the office and, come up to the front desk and introduce myself to the staff and perhaps have the opportunity to purchase. But again, I definitely whatever makes them comfortable. And I don't want the patients to be uncomfortable either when, they're not supposed to have anyone else in the waiting room other than themselves.
Right.
So I call from the car, just like if I was a patient waiting. So it's definitely slowed the process down a little bit because of the fact that I have to, get permission, so to speak, to get into the office. And then furthermore, I used to see people every 4 months, let's say, the dentist, because they would accumulate a certain amount of scrap. But obviously with COVID and being shut down, what happened is, the sales cycle got a little bit pushed back. So instead of every 4 months, I'd still want to see them to see how everything's going. But from a scrap accumulation standpoint, they usually would ask me, could you come back in 2 or 3 more months, so we could, accumulate, a little bit more scrap. So basically the main thing is the sales cycle obviously is taking a little bit longer, in between pickups. And then again, stopping at the door before just walking in.
Yeah. Yeah. There are all of these additional pieces. So as a business person, when you look at it and say, okay, so you like many businesses, the sales continuum has changed, right? So you went from a 4-month cycle to a 5 to 6 month cycle. And so as you look at that, how have you, evolved your company to kind of fill in the gaps, to kind of get the cycle, from, every company needs cash flow, how do you kind of, what do you do as far as growing the business in that way?
Well, yeah. Well, basically, what I started to do is because I'm a one-man company. So one thing I started to do is I started to send out postcards like to all the dentists throughout the state, and also increase my social media presence, where I started really taking advantage of Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and doing whatever I could, to get my name out there, because if I couldn't actually, go into all these offices, I want to have another avenue. And then what I also did is a lot of patients are now very conscientious. A lot of times they're asking for the scrap back from the doctors. So what I did is I developed just a little prepaid system where I leave envelopes with the dentist, and then when they have patients who come in who want it back, they can just mail it directly to me, and then I would send them a check like within a day or so.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things that I've started to institute much more.
Yeah, I love postcards. I think they get, in today's world, people get less mail. And so postcards really stick out. And I think people forget about the power of mail, because we're so used to talking about email and social media and things of that nature. So I love that you kind of went back to some basics and postcards. I don't see as many companies doing them, but the ones that are doing them, I think, find it very effective, right? Because they stick out, and again, we're getting less mail. So now, as your business begins to grow out of COVID, well, just before we get into that, before this next question, kind of define to people exactly what you do.
Yeah, but basically what I do is I go around to dental offices, mainly general dentists and oral surgeons, because they're primarily the ones who are going to, accumulate the scrap metals. And basically I go by and I leave them a jar, like a small little jar, and basically tell them, when they have any extractions, have any metal on them at all, put it in this little jar. And every 4 months or so, I'll come by and I actually pour it out, and I separate the gold from the other metals, because obviously gold is going to have a higher price value than, let's say, palladium and platinum, which are the other metals as well. And I basically separate the two metals, or rather, and I evaluate it, and I offer the dentist a cash quote, a price on the spot for his metals. And one of two things can happen. He could say, well, three things. Basically, he could say, no, I'm already working with someone else, or I don't feel that this is a very fair price. And being that I'm my own company and I have very little overhead, I'm able to negotiate prices much more competitive than my competitors, being that they have to, pay like a third party or their main office. So I have a lot more flexibility. And the other nice thing too is, in this day and age when marketing budgets are getting, less and less, it's kind of a fun job, because instead of asking them to go and, buy a machine or, new equipment, I'm basically just saying, by putting this, what some people would consider trash, so to speak, I'm basically just giving them cash for holding on to this scrap metal. So it's a little bit more of a fun and easier sale.
Yeah, I love it. Let's talk about the sale and the dentists that you work with. You've built quite a business, and you're working with hundreds of dentists over the years, which I know brings you a lot of joy. But building, how are you generating new clientele? Is it through referral? Is it through the postcards? Is it through, how are you generating new business, especially in today's market where it is harder to just kind of walk in, meet someone, and build that relationship capital?
What I really am hammering now is when I'm at an actual dentist, there's a current, I'm much more sort of asking the dentist for referrals. I'd say, if you're happy and satisfied with the work that I'm doing, I'd love the opportunity to help out, any of your contemporaries. Not only that, I actually ask the front desk girls, because a lot of these office managers, dental hygienists, and assistants tend to know other people as well. So I asked them as well if there's any opportunity, if they could also perhaps refer me, to one of their friends or contemporaries. So it's a secondary way of trying to, build. It's been pretty successful overall. I also offer them like a Starbucks gift card or something to incentivize them. So at least, they're getting something for, taking the time out of their day to try to, help me promote my business or grow my business.
Well, what I love about what you're talking about, David, is I love the word assertive. And I think a lot of times people, they get to a point, but then they don't ask for the business. And assertiveness takes some courage, right? You got to really kind of be putting yourself out there. You almost have to, I think, practice assertiveness through role playing, and you have to really kind of dig deep to get to that assertive place where you can ask for introductions or referrals. I think it's one of the hardest things for many salespeople in every industry to do, salespeople, business owners, et cetera. And so just dive into that a little bit more as far as reverse engineer it. How do you get yourself into the right mindset to be in that assertive place where you got to do it and you're getting results from it?
Well, I really like in like sales and the psychology of sales. So I'm always reading books, whether it's Brian Tracy or Tony Robbins or Les Brown or anybody that I have different techniques and to motivate myself. And when I'm in the car, I'm not listening to my rock music or Pandora. I'm constantly listening to sales motivation tapes all throughout the day to further, get myself in that sales frame of mind for the whole day. And one thing I came up with, which is the most simplistic thing in the world, is that I have a 50-50 chance any day. They either say yes or they say no. And when I make it that simple into myself, knowing if I don't ask, then I'm not going to get an answer and I'm not going to know. So the worst thing they're going to say is no. And I've been doing this for about 13 years. And of course, you're going to get many, many more no's than you are yeses. But of course, it's a numbers game. And the more you're out there and the more times, I guess you get a thick skin in a way, because you understand they're not rejecting you personally. They're just, maybe they don't need your service right now, or they're working with somebody else. But you just got to know you don't take it personally, that it's just not the right time. And I've had times, where I go back every 6 months and someone, says no and no and no. And then 2 years later, their previous rep they've been working with is no longer in the business. And that no now turns into a yes. Now, if I just decided, point blank, they've said no, I should just give up and never show up again, then I'm missing out on, potential business.
Yeah. I love everything that you're talking about, and the mindset. I think it's contagious and it's inspiring to hear that, because you're right. I love Brian Tracy. All the people you talked about, I love. I've been listening to Brian Tracy since I was 18, and my dad gave me a set of Brian Tracy tapes and said, I think you'll learn more from these people than you will college. And I became addicted every day. It's how I start my day, listening to what now it's books on tape, or tapes on Audible and podcasts and things of that nature. But it's getting into that mindset to, it's 50-50. So why not go with the 50 potential of the yes, right? And count the no's, right? So you get to know, hey, for every 4 no's, even though they're really uncomfortable, the 5th yes, right? The yes after the 5th time I ask feels better than the 4 no's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate all of that. And so, as a business owner today, and looking at some of these people who are starting new companies, what advice would you give the new sprouting entrepreneur?
I guess I would, obviously have a thick skin, have a mentor or read about, people that are slightly, take, from different people. You can take different ideas and different approaches. Everyone has something that they can add that is going to help you in one way or the other. But really, it's just about hard work and grinding, basically. I mean, you just got to be willing to, hit the ground running and just knock on as many doors as you can and let as many people know what you're doing, because a lot of times, I've had even a situation where I was talking to a friend who was my son and his son were classmates, and he said, no one knows what you do for a living. And if no one knows what you do, how can people help you out? Yeah. So it's really important to let people know what you do. And a lot of times I find people want to help other people, but they have to know, obviously what you do in the first place. Yeah. But just to reiterate one more thing, again, is just, seeing as many people as you can, and know that it might take 15 no's to get to a yes.
Yeah, I love it. All right,
but
David.
The other thing is they have to know they're saying no right. Yeah.
Yeah. Ready for a quick speed round, David?
Sure.
All right. Favorite book and why?
Favorite book and why? Think and Grow Rich, because it really gives me a good understanding on the principles on how to become successful financially.
I love it. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Do what you love and the money will follow.
Yeah, that's great. Finish this sentence. One thing every entrepreneur needs to do to finish 2021 strong is?
See as many clients as possible, and keep reading books and tapes and whatever you can do to motivate yourself for your sales.
Yeah. I love everything you're talking about. I want to recap a couple things, David. Well, first of all, David Hack, president at Ark Refining, arkrefining.com. You have a business, Michigan Dental Scrap, buying it on the spot. But what you talked about today, I just want to highlight a couple things. The power of postcards, the power of asking, the power of being assertive, the power of not forgetting to tell people what you do, because if you don't, nobody will know. The importance of going to see people, the importance of having thick skin, not taking things personally. And most importantly, you have a 50-50 chance every time you ask. And so if you ask for a referral, 50% of the time they'll say yes, 50% of the time they'll say no. Why not have the confidence to kind of, go in with the idea that they're going to say yes? So I love that. I think that is such great advice. I think community, if David can help you, if you're in the dental field on any level, and he can help you, reach out to him. David, how can everybody get a hold of you?
They can either call me on my mobile number, and I guarantee, I'll call them back within 24 hours at 21710. They can also email me at david@arkrefining.com. And if they just want to see my website and get more of an understanding of exactly what I do, and some various dentists, who've obviously appreciated my business in the past, my website's arkrefining.com.
Okay. And tell everybody your phone number again. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. My phone number is 248-694-1710. And even if you're not a dentist, even if you just know a friend, everyone goes to a dentist. So even if you feel free to ask your dentist if he has any, scrap metals, of course, would be greatly appreciated. But primarily any general dentist, oral surgeon, periodontist in some cases, love the opportunity to offer them a free, no obligation quote whatsoever. And again, lastly, they can ship it out. There are companies that you can ship. There's no games, exactly. You don't have to wait or worry. Right away if you're going to go ahead with it or not. And like I said, pay extremely competitive.
It's great. I love it. David, I appreciate you being on the show. Think community, if David could help you, please reach out. You can also go to my website, johndwoskin.com. The episode will be there, as well as all social media platforms. On my website, you can download my book and my ebook for free, johndwoskin.com. David, can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thank you so much. Think community, appreciate all of you tuning in. Again, if David can help you, please reach out. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, David.
Thank you so much, John. I really do appreciate it.